Good morning. Oh, it's the Storm Carey and Adam show. I don't even know if I said that in the right order. However, I'm going to take the host position today, and I'm going to give my dad. My dad said he watches every morning, so I'm going to give my dad
Oh,
a
nice.
shout out if he's watching this. But anyway, so I'm going to flip the script today and talk to you guys a little bit about the development side of ISI and really more so what are we hearing real time. I know August was slow, and now September, I'm seeing a lot of leads come through on our lead tracker. I had a lot of conversations with you, Carrie, on different conversations that you're having. We've got Discovery Day coming up this month. We've got another Discovery Day next month.
Yep.
With a lot of candidates lined up to come here to Charlotte. So, with that being said, what are you guys hearing overall? Like, what type of people are you guys hearing from? What are their fears? What are some different? What are you guys hearing?
Well, I mean, to your point, I think before when we were in the green room, before we went live on the air, we find ourselves lucky to be surrounded by good people. So the majority of people coming through our lead pipeline are actually good people. So I can report positive things to you on that, Adam. So your marketing is doing well. We're finding some really interesting parties come in, to be honest with you. People from all over the United States are reaching out. Now is obviously a very, very unique time for the fitness industry due to the coronavirus pandemic. And, I think that there's a level of complexity that's coming through when somebody comes in at this point and says, I'm interested in, pursuing opening a gym, right? They're either crazy or brilliant or a mixture of the two of them right at this moment. But the reality is, and we'll talk fairly about this, is there are a lot of good real estate opportunities. Financing is a little challenging. We can deep dive on that, but it is still available, and we're able to get these units moving and towards opening in lightning speed.
So, are you hearing like Storm when you're talking with brokers? What are you hearing them? And well, I guess for people watching this too, they may not understand what a broker is in the franchise world. Will you explain what a broker is, and then what you're hearing from them, and kind of what brands they're showing?
Yeah, absolutely. So brokers are kind of the middleman to all franchise acquisitions, right? They work with different, outplacement programs. So people who are being laid off or their jobs are being terminated or their department is being terminated tend to get access to different programs to help them figure out, what the next step in their professional career is going to be. And sometimes it's not necessarily going back to the labor force. Sometimes that next step for them is to purchase their own business, right? Kind of do their own thing. And for a lot of people, purchasing a business or buying a franchise tends to be a component of their retirement plan strategy, right? It's a way to keep a long-term income coming in for themselves, and it's going to give them an opportunity to eventually sell that business for a return as well. But brokers are basically people who work with entrepreneurs to help them identify what types of franchise opportunities out there might be a good fit for them, both from an investment level and then also from a skill set perspective and even at a cultural level. So we work with a number of different franchise consulting networks to help us as ISI to find these individuals who may be interested in a franchise acquisition. And then we talk to the candidates about what our opportunity entails. So that's basically the role that franchise brokers play. And we work, like I said, with a number of different networks across the country to help people make that next step in their professional lives. And that usually includes purchasing a franchise. What we were hearing from the broker networks is that when coronavirus had first kicked in, there was a little bit of hesitation on behalf of these entrepreneurs and on behalf of franchise candidates to look into something that was retail, right? Or look into something that was fitness based. And it was because coronavirus basically created a shutdown of all these different types of business all across the country. So of course there was a little bit of hesitation to look into a concept that had a front door and four walls. That is not necessarily the case anymore. I think if you take a look at the last 5 to 10 years, there's already been a shift in the appetite for boutique fitness coming from, big box fitness, right? Boutique fitness is one of those things that's really taken off within franchising over the last 5 to 10 years. And I think the coronavirus has only exacerbated that, right? So now that shift is occurring even more rapidly. And what people are seeing, one, I know Kerry just touched on it, there's massive opportunity out there in the commercial real estate market. That market's been flipped on its head, right? Went from a landlord-dominated market to a renter's market. And two, there's an opportunity with all of these big box gyms that are struggling and filing for bankruptcy protection and closing shop. There's an opportunity to go capture those customers, right? Now you've got a bunch of gym goers that are looking for another home. And again, that boutique space now has an even larger market to go after. So ISI is certainly taking advantage of that. I think, for people that are getting down to some of the corporate locations, getting out to some of the new franchisee locations and just trying it out, they're loving what they're getting. They're stepping into those front doors and they're loving the culture. And that's what you guys have really built is a really special culture within those four walls.
All right, Storm. So you hit on something like 3.5 minutes ago in that in that presentation right there. You talked about a lot of times investing in a franchise is something that's that financial future, that's securing somebody's retirement. The other thing that we find too is that we get a lot of entrepreneurs coming in who are doing this because it's on their bucket list, right? Yep. So at this point, right, and we talked about some of the challenges because of the pandemic, and Storm, you did a great job touching on that. People understand that. And if they're coming in and they're saying, I want to open a gym, it's because that's been a lifelong dream of theirs. Mm-hmm. Or they know that they want to go out and have a business that they own in addition to maybe other things like real estate or stocks and bonds. They want to diversify, but it's something they've always wanted to have through. So it really becomes an in-play of passion, right? It's what they want to do and have that opportunity or that additional project they want to work on.
100%.
Adam, you got another question for us?
Yeah, I do. So when you guys are talking you've got, we're averaging, roughly 5 leads a day come through, right? From
Sure.
People across the country. Of the qualified ones, what does it take to qualify to have an ISI with the current market and financing and all of that? So that's number one, because I think that's one of those things that, honestly, we're looking at Kat and Greg Donnell's as an example. They, yep. A lot of people, I see two things that just conversations I've had, and I know you guys have had way more conversations around this than I have, but they don't think they have the financial capability to open an ISI or any franchise because they don't have $500,000 sitting in the bank. And so one, well, you go over that in a second. And then number two is they never have owned a gym. They never worked in the fitness industry. And, an example of that would be Kat and Greg Donnell's, who are franchisees that just launched pre-sales this weekend. They launched with 41 members in 3 days. And that's just pre-sales. So they're still, in permitting and prior to construction and all of that. And so
weeks to go, right?
11 and a half weeks to go.
All right.
Incredible.
Yeah. A lot of time.
Will you hit on those two facets of the financial capability and then also the fact that, you don't have to have gym experience and sometimes, just having a business background or a personality, like Kat's phenomenal. She was in the service industry forever. And Greg was actually is a fancier title than bodyguard, Greg, if you're watching. But essentially executive protection for the CEO of NASCAR.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And, I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and I think, almost more importantly to tee that up is when we do engage with people to learn, go along the franchise discovery process, the first thing we tell them is, listen, we have a 6-phase process to help you understand and discover what you're going to go through. And the first 3 of those are presentations that I generally lead. First one being an introductory webinar. Then we go over the big 3, the finance, the marketing, and operations. We do that over 2 presentations. Once we're done with that, we're moving on to validation phase, where they're meeting our existing franchisees like Kat and Greg you just talked about. They'll meet you, they'll get on a Zoom call, get to know you a little bit. And then at the end of it, the 6th step is we invite them in for discovery day. So a lot of times what we'll find is that people who are interested, they'll move on through those processes, but if they're really not interested, they're going to fall out of that process at some point or another. And no harm, no foul. Obviously we're looking for the right franchisees. To your direct points on qualification from a financial standpoint, we're looking at $100,000 liquid capital, $250 net worth, and a 680 credit score. So that 100,000 liquid could be stocks, bonds, 401ks, which we obviously don't always talk about, home equity, lines of credits, or cash, anything that you can utilize to show that you have that available to go from a liquid standpoint. That's what you'll utilize to secure your franchise agreement, and then we'll work with you through our partners to get you funded for the rest. Storm, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I'd say that if you are curious about, financing opportunities, and if you do qualify, it's a conversation that Carrie and I are both comfortable having, in terms of getting you an idea as to what you qualify for. The pre-qualification process is very simple. We've got a number of very solid funding partners that are putting financing in place for our existing franchisees. I probably have a little bit more of a skill set that relates there. The 5 years prior to my coming over to Repum Group and working with ISI, I worked in franchise financing, and I worked for the largest and the oldest funding provider to the franchise industry. So if there are questions in that arena, those are questions I'm comfortable answering, and those are questions that I'm comfortable setting up for our funding partners. Adam, you did touch on something pretty interesting. You talked about prior gym ownership experience, right? So yeah. A lot of people think that in order to run a gym that you have to have gym management experience, and that's not necessarily the case. Typically what banks are looking for are what we would call a transferable skill set, right? Meaning that you don't necessarily have to have run a gym, but if you've run a department of a major corporation, right? If you're a former corporate guy and you've run a massive sales department, if you run a massive marketing department, those are skill sets that directly translate to running a gym, right? You're taking that skill set and you're just applying it to running your own business. And like we say, gyms are sales engines, right? You want to bring in more people than you lose every single month. That is how you keep a gym profitable. So those are skill sets that translate. And frankly, if you have run a gym before, I don't know that looking into a franchise where you're basically buying a business model, buying a business in a box, I don't know if that's the right fit for you. You might not necessarily need a model. You don't necessarily need, a training guide to go ahead and run a gym. Now, interestingly enough, ISI is such a unique opportunity that we have attracted, GMs from other major, fitness franchises. And again, I think that speaks to the success of ISI. But there is an opportunity here. But really what the banks are looking for is that transferable skill set.
And Adam, to your second question, which Storm just kind of hit on a little bit, which is if you don't have gym experience, like what does it take to do this? Well, listen, a good job to you for taking all of the mistakes and errors and things that you didn't like in your business and putting in systems to try and correct those. When we go through the introductory call, we talk about it all the time, how it's a turnkey business model. So not only what obviously you've put together on an ISI stand front to allow people to be able to measure and control what they can control through their KPIs and financial performance indicators, but we also have a partnership with Build'em, part of Repum. So when we get into the real estate site selection building process, there's somebody walking through that process with them. So as you know, and you just touched on with the Donnells, they can focus on pre-sales, right? Which is obviously the most important thing that we can get going. Let's pivot. We're almost at the end of the show. Adam, what do you got for us over there?
I just got plans. I was just hitting on. I was reviewing on Friday our UK location coming, and did that with Build 'em. So
Nice.
yeah, it's just from the brand side. I mean, Build 'em handles all of that, but from the brand side, we just double confirm in-body placements correct, desk placements correct, sound system is in the right place, those types of things from a brand. So you've got not only, a project management firm handling that piece, you also have the brand coming behind as well, and making sure that, all our T's are crossed and I's are dotted, and we're making it as seamless as possible for each candidate and franchise partner.
All right. Core value number 4, energy, day for the day. Storm, you got some weather for us?
Yeah. So, what I'd want to say to kind of wrap up that last point we were just making, is really what you're getting when you buy a franchise, right? And what I heard once, and it always stuck with me, is whenever you're investing into a franchise, what you're actually purchasing when you pay that franchise fee, you are buying all of the collective successes and, more importantly, the failures of that franchise system to date. You are buying the best version of that business model possible. And Adam, I know you've talked about what's led to your success, right? And not to steal your thunder, but I've heard you mention it on a number of calls. It's all the failures that you had along the way, right? How to fail forward, how to step back up to the plate, after something hasn't worked out. And I think what you have right now is a really refined version of a boutique fitness concept. And it's clear that it's starting to resonate with the people that we're speaking with, people that have looked at other brands, people that have looked at in other industries and other verticals in franchising are finding what they're looking for in ISI.
Love it.
All right.
And bring the energy every day.
Every day.
Coffee helps.
Every day. Yo, I'm on a 48-hour juice cleanse fast. So y'all pray for me, because no food for 48 hours.
Did you start that already, or are you starting that now?
This morning. Yeah, I've got six juices. Our good friends at Clean Juice got 6 juices per day. So
yeah.
I could take a couple days off from talking to you. I'll talk to you Wednesday. I could do that.
More so, pray for my wife. I might be a little cranky tomorrow morning when we talk. I'll do my best.
I'm sure she'll hold her own.
All right, guys. Well, we got the weather.
You know what? I'm glad that you brought that up, because we've got some strange weather headed our way here in Philadelphia today. I believe that the high here in Philadelphia today is around 76 degrees. I think with the real field temp and the humidity that's in the air, hottest it's going to feel is about 78 degrees. Tonight, we've got temperatures dipping into the 40s. The low here is 47 degrees. So, like I said, fall weather is here. Looks like it's here to stay. Some beautiful weather over the weekend for some football games to be played. I don't know if you guys are watching it all, but this is my favorite time of year, man. Football weather is here, and I love it.
Love it. I'm going to the video I got today is, since the weather's turning, it's a recap of one of our Christmas parties at one of our locations. So I'll see you boys tomorrow, and I got work to do.
There we go.
Later.